My name is Dan Shimolinski. People like to call me Shimmy, and you can too. I am a bassist, sound designer, and composer based in Los Angeles, and today it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Palindrome II. It's a little bit of a chilly day here in LA, so some analog warmth is welcomed, and boy, do I have a lot of it for you. If you're not familiar with Palindrome I, just a quick refresher on what this is. Palindrome is an homage to the cinematic trends of introducing synthesizers into film scores. And we've been seeing a lot of composers like Hans Zimmer, Ludwig Göransson, so on and so forth, using synths more and more. It's really becoming an integral part of the modern Hollywood sound. Palindrome I was a expansion and homage to that kind of style, and Palindrome II is an extension of Palindrome I. This is just done so right and so well. When speaking to Trolls a little bit about what he wanted to accomplish with this, he said he learned a lot from Palindrome I and really wanted to nail the sound and just give you the best palette of sounds to work with here. When I'm scoring, I like to think about sonic worlds in which all of my sonic elements kind of live and how they work together, complement each other. And Palindrome II, you are getting an entire world. The parts themselves, as you'll see in a second, are so different from one to the next, but these were all created using analog synthesizers, some Dave Smith Prophet stuff. I know there's a lot of Moogs like the Mother 32 and the Matriarch, and so what you end up getting is this really diverse collection of sounds that all live within the same common analog warmth world, and it is just so perfect. So really excited to jump into this one, so let's get started. So I'm a little lazy. I did not count how many parts there are here because, wow, there's quite a few, and they are all really beautifully arranged here. We have up top just some stuff that's just ripe for the arpeggiating kind of style of cinematic synths. Then we have some bass sounds, we have some keys, moving on to kicks, and then we head down to synths. These are kind of more like pads in my opinion, and all of these little identifiers and titles, I actually do really find them entertaining because I think they're very accurate. I think as I was looking, I definitely tried to get a thought in my mind of what it would sound like before clicking on it, just based on the title alone. And I found a lot of these descriptors to be very specific to the sound, which is just such a nice, quick way to get what you're looking for. So there are a lot here. I'm just going to kind of rifle through a couple of my favorites and literally just start at the top. So these Arps are basically perfect kind of plucky sounds, really good for an arpeggiating sequence, which is such a staple of modern cinematic scoring. So let's go ahead and just turn on the Arp here, and let's just run down some of these sounds and hear what they sound like. Let's go for 2 octaves. Very cool. Check out this one. Like, for example, that one's called Circle, and that's the roundest of all of the examples played so far. So I do feel like these are great descriptors and great starting places. That's just a quick, I mean, I gave you the first 5. I mean, any of these are good. Let's just jump into Mind. Let's try that one. Awesome. Let's try again. Let's try Reviver. I'm just picking at random here. I'm going to turn the ARP off for this one and just do kind of a manual ARP. And one thing that you can do is actually just add an envelope to these to get the full release. When you have it in ARP mode, and you have no release, it's going to cut right off. But if you just add an ADSR and just add a little bit of release, that's a little bit more of a wispy retro kind of sound. I find that most of these ARP tones have that ability. They go long enough that you are able to add release if you don't want it to be quite as succinct. But this is a really, really beautiful one. Let's try Sector. I'm going to turn the ARP off and just play around with this one. And of course, with all of the parts in Soundpaint, you get great control, a great velocity range. And I find that a lot of these ARP sounds have just a little touch of noise, which is perfect because it just adds a little bit of levity, a little bit of sparkle to it. But all of these are perfect. And as a synth enthusiast, I don't know if I could specifically dictate it or write it down or tell you, but I definitely do have a checklist of ideal synth sounds that I go for just in any setting really, and I kind of have my staples, my things that I know that I love, my things that I know that I can achieve on just about any analog synthesizer. And I have to say, I've gone through all these parts and I really feel like there isn't one missing. I think they're perfectly done. I think the spectrum has been covered, and these ARPs are just a great starting point for any kind of modern cinematic sequence underscore stuff. It's just perfect. Let's head to the basses, which you know I'm excited about because I'm biased. Let's try Count. Super beefy, and you're getting that natural oscillator beating kind of sound that we love and can really only be achieved from sampling truly analog equipment. Let's check out Deter. Wow, that's such a smooth, I think that was probably Prophet. That sounds Prophet-y to me. Hey, you know, just because it says bass doesn't mean you can't use it as something else. I mean, you know, this is definitely like, it could be a keys sound as well. I won't do it. But you get my point, you know? Don't let the titles deter you from using these parts however you want. I want to check out elusive. I want to hear an elusive bass. Super nice, very clean. Let's check out Pursuit. I want to hear what that sounds like. And maybe we'll just put an ARP on this to help us with whatever the pursuit is. Bring that down. Yeah, let's go for it. Very, very cool. That's a nice, rich, kind of growly sound. Let's turn the ARP off and check out bass screen. Oh, that might be my favorite so far. So we're getting some natural filter envelope happening, and that was done with the sampling process. That synth actually had that envelope setting on it. I do not have anything going on in my ADSR, but as always, let's say you really like that tone, but you want it to be punchier. My favorite tool, offset. You can get right in the middle of that sound and create kind of a shorter attack bass with the same timbre. Let's check out some of these keys. Do you hear that? That trail in the end? It's just kind of like... It's almost got just a little bit of like oscillator separation, like a very slow square wave to maybe one of the frequencies. Hear that? It kind of just oscillates. That's so cool. Little changes like that just make an awesome part. What a lovely, lovely sound. That's got to be Prophet, right? I think that's probably Prophet. Let's check out Deploy. That sounds awesome. Man, that almost has like a Juno vibe to it. It's very, very lovely. Just kind of a wobbly, chorusy. It's perfect. This is what I'm trying to say is like, you know, when I'm going through these parts, I'm thinking, what's missing? What's not here? And again, I'm just giving you a brief overview, picking at random here, but all of these parts are just so the right thing for this kind of a library. It's incredible. I mean, let's check out this one. Very sparkly, almost like a synth organ tone. I love that. That's really, really cool. And again, like, this is just the core parts. I mean, we haven't done anything to these. It's a great collection of sounds. I'm really, really big fan of this one. Check out Reflect. Now let's do Spectrum. And again, we'll turn up the release on this one. And again, like, you know, this is a scoring focused library, but like these are just useful synth sounds. I mean, and it's got the same richness and analog warmth that I love from having a room like this. So I'm really resonating with a lot of these tones here. I hope you are too. And then of course you get some kicks, which are just always useful. You can never have enough kicks, in my personal opinion. And again, it's just got a little kick of noise. You hear that? Super awesome. Anyway, you get the point. We've done a lot of kicks in this studio in these series, but these are great. They're all super useful and very nicely sampled. I'm gathering that these kicks, as opposed to maybe ones in the Vermona library, they're a little more tonal. They have a little more clean sounding thing, so a lot to work with. You know, it's not maybe as grungy, but certainly useful and very succinct and just good quality kicks. Then we come to these synths parts, which to me all kind of sound like strings, pads, maybe a brass here and there, but just like, again, just like perfect big synth chord material here. And I'm just tempted to just turn up the release on all these and just zen out. Can you hear all that motion, all that stuff that's happening in there? And that's one thing that I did notice when checking out scores like Tenant and all these modern film scores is motion is really the key element of the analog synth modern sound. Just lots of little oscillations. You know, so that's got kind of a yeah, like almost like a formant sounding thing. So I mean, just think about, you know, you could use that to balance that with another sound that's maybe a little more stable in creating kind of a mega pad, so that you've got something that maybe has a little more stability and something that has a little more motion. Let's check out Diameter. So I'm getting organ vibes from that one. Beautiful. Let's check out some Joy. Kind of a plucky, funky, Juno-y kind of thing. Nice little LFO on the end there would be nice. Just like a little mod wheel, raise it up, get a vibrato going. I mean, all of these are so good. I'm tempted to just like kind of give you an idea of what these last couple are like. Just rifle through them real quick. Woo. I mean, man, if you don't think that's useful. Beautiful. A little bit of pitch envelope on the beginning of that one. Very nice. Awesome. Yeah, so that's just a quick run through. I mean, every single, I don't know how to articulate this better than what I've been saying, which is that I just feel like every single part in here is exactly what you need. I mean, there's no stone left unturned, and this is really, really a very, very cool library. And as always, we can head over to our program section where, we have a lot of parts, so of course we have a lot of programs, quite a few. and they're all good, so this is just going to be picking and choosing. But let's check out this ARP. This is a 4-part ARP, and it is called Big and Nasty. We've got a little bit of a ramp here on our velocities in the ARP section. Super, super cool. Let's try it. Gorgeous. Just a gorgeous, big, grizzly. I mean, awesome. It's perfect. Everything's perfect in this library. This is like the word of the day. We have some awesome analog distortion there, and I'm guessing this will probably be mapped to CC. So if you wanted to do just kind of like a Stranger Things-esque, slowly opening the cutoff as you're doing that sequence, you could do that. Awesome, and the delay is super effective to get some stereo actioning happening. I mean, I could just hear like that being a lead into like some big juicy bass drop. I mean, yeah, great. Let's check out this Fight ARP here, and it looks like we have an LFO going to the distortion, so it's going to be kind of milking the wet dry on this cleaver style distortion here. And we're going through another filter analog where, yes, we have the low pass cutoff mapped to the mod wheel, so we can do that same trick. It's a little tricky to perfectly time it so that it doesn't give you one too many notes. But of course, if you're recording this and you want to just play chords and perfectly drag your MIDI to the ideal change, you can do that. But yeah, that distortion is really, really nice. And there's 4 parts here, which is really something to just think about for a second. I mean, these all complement each other so well. You can stick 4 ARP parts in here and they will work. I mean, as I said earlier, this is all the same world. This is all the same sonic universe. So everything complements everything in this library, in my opinion. Let's check out Arp In Octaves. So doing a quick little touch change there, I just wanted to make sure that that pitch bend would drop an octave. And that's one thing that actually I found out embarrassingly late into my programming and exploration into Soundpaint. You can control your, up to I think an octave, you can control your pitch bend. Plus 12, minus 12, whatever is going to suit your performance. But yeah, super juicy. Let's check out one more ARP. This is Possessed. Using 3 parts here, one of which is a kick and 2 of which are bass parts. So as I said earlier, don't let these titles limit you to what your usage of these are. I mean, they all make great pads. They all make great plucky key sounds. They all make great basses. I mean, it's just, the possibilities are endless. Oh yeah, that's a great delay profile right there. Got the BBD delay, ping pong, left, right. Very, very cool. And yeah, that's 7% of analog distortion on the filter. I am a big fan of using the distortion on the filter as opposed to just using the distortion units. It's just a different kind of color. It works in conjunction with whatever you've got going on here. So that's really, really tasteful. But yeah, those are a look at some ARPs. Let's check out some basses. How about bass late? That's awesome. And I'm noticing that this is a concept I've talked about in other videos, but part 1 is very much leading into part 2. If we just isolate part 1, you can hear it's that kind of thick, definitely a Moog. I mean, this has got to be a Moog. Right? So that's your little push, and then you've got this beautiful fade-in bass happening over here. And the two together just hand off to one another. I'm a big fan of this kind of like left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4 style. Like, you know, that's just how I visualize it. Your own style is going to be your own style, but you know, having one part hand off to the next is something that I really enjoy doing in Soundpaint. What's the Crow? This sounds cool. 3 bass parts, and yep, we got the low pass to the mod wheel. Love that. Gotta love that. I mean, man, I know we've got some distortion here. Let's just see what it would be like without the distortion. I want to see how much that's actually doing. You know, actually not that much. That's really in the parts. And I guess you're just getting that natural analog rub, that natural phasing that just, as I said, you really can only get from analog machines. So this has just been brilliantly sampled. It's been a while since we've checked out a program using the morph tool. And just as a quick reminder, morph is when you want one part to exist inside of another. It's kind of a concept that really you only have to just experiment and play with to fully understand. But this is a keys part here. It's called Cliff, and we have keys structure morphed into keys spectrum. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the morph so we can hear the two parts before. And here's part two. Almost like a piano kind of sound. So that's going to be something that's going to probably give a little bit more articulation to the sound of part one, I suspect. Let's check it out. Not only does the mod wheel affect the analog filter cutoff, but also how much it's morphing. So are you gathering that we're getting kind of that phasey kind of long pad sound from Spectrum, but we're getting the punctuation from Structure? And the order really does matter. If we play the other way, so this is how it is currently. If we go the other direction, we get less of the punctuation being the lead. But it's still there. It's still giving a little kick. So morph is something that you should definitely always try. I will frequently, if I have two parts that kind of complement each other or are in the same ballpark, or are contributing something that the other one doesn't have, like in this case, I'll just flip morph on and see what it sounds like, mess around with the slider, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's a very, very powerful tool to have. Let's check out Horizon. I'm getting almost like there's got to be like a sample and hold LFO, maybe doing like a little bit of microtonal stuff. That's what it sounds like to me. Let me. So it's not that. Oh, it's the kick part, right? So there we're having part two, kind of adding a little bit more of a knock to the sound, because this doesn't really have a natural punctuation. So that's another great example of using something to kind of supplement another sound. Almost sounds like a bad tape machine, right? But I believe that that's probably like a very tightly tuned, fast LFO, picking random spots within a microtonal range. Which, by the way, you could do in Soundpaint. Soundpaint does have a random LFO setting for one of the waves, so you can achieve that sound if you like it. That's very, very cool, though it kind of sounds like worn, right? It sounds like worn tape. Very, very, very cool. Let's check out Rollerblades. evokes a Santa Monica beach sunset, just chilling out by the water vibe. I love that. So warm. And I get like, you know, it is a tough pill to swallow when you are sitting in a room like this. I mean, I've amassed this collection over probably 5 or 6 years now, and you know, some of this stuff just sounds so good, so close to the real deal. I mean, it is the real deal. It's recorded, all analog equipment created this, but you know, the warmth, it's just so evocative. You get all the imperfections, all the little stuff that we love to play with. So you're getting the idea, right? You're getting the picture. I'll give you a kick sound here. This is also using morph, so I must really like this kick. Oh yeah, I do like this kick. Super that's a that's like giving me early 2000s vibes. Full distortion here, and yeah, this water gun one, this is one of my favorites to use, especially on kick drums. But I'm gathering, let's check out what these sound like without the morph tool. So, and I'll take the effects off too for now, just to hear. So we're getting a pitch drop from that part, and we're getting a more solid knock to part 2. So again, using one part that has something that the other doesn't to create a total global sound that really gets you. Oh, we got some pads here. Man, how much time do I could be doing this all day. I really could. They're all so good. I'll just play a couple pads for you. Come on. That's so good. That is scary good. I mean, man, I'm speechless. That's such a beautiful pad. Wow. You know what? That's where I'm ending that's where I'm adding the program demonstration. That is just took my breath away. And now it's everybody's favorite part of the segment. Let's do a sound from scratch. We have a completely blank palette here. And I'm so inspired by that last program that I just want to make like a really like sentimental, beautiful, emotional, evolving pad. Something that's multi-layered, a lot of motion, multiple swells, slow swells. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Earlier I was talking about how good all of these parts are labeled, so I'm just gonna try and pick like words, and maybe we'll pick 2 or 3, see where it gets us, see if it gets us to a sound that's a good starting place. So I said sentimental. Let's start with sense. We'll make it a darker pad, kind of a do you want to go with joy or hurt? Let's do hurt. Let's keep it kind of dark. And then let's see what else. I'm thinking reflect. So I just kind of chose these 3 at random. I have no idea what they sound like, but all of the words kind of go together for me in terms of the vision that I'm going for. So you're finding this out with me. I haven't tried this. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's just play a big C major chord. Did that work? I think that worked. I like that a lot. That's a great starting place. Let's break down each layer and decide what we want to do with it. Okay, so this is kind of a shriller, almost like a organ-ish. It's got a little bit of a harsh kind of attack to it, which we're going to use. So this is going to be the sound that I'm going to use as my punctuation, if you will. So it's a pretty quick decay, so there's not going to be a whole lot of shaping that I'm going to do here with LFOs. There's already some LFO action happening between the two oscillators used to create this preset, so I'm going to leave that where it is, at least for now. I might end up even just, depending on how sentimental we get, but let's keep it at 0 for now. Cool, so I know what that guy's going to be. Let's check out Hurt. So lots of motion. I'm thinking this is going to be the sound that comes in right away with the attack. I think these two complement each other. I'm going to lower the volume of part 1. And part 2 is kind of knocking back and forth, which I like. I think I'm going to accentuate that a little bit more and just add a couple LFOs here. Something that I've been experimenting with as of late is really just doing very slow LFOs to the volume of parts. I think that's something that really creates kind of a, it's just that extra subtle movement, you know. I think just really collecting all these little tiny automations makes a sound super alive. So I'm going to lower that frequency to slow. I mean, properly slow. I like that. I'd also like to maybe add that LFO to the panning. Or you know what? Forget it. We have 8 LFOs. Let's do a different one, a different speed, so that again, we're just creating more complexity within each part. I'm going to have it be 50% on either side. Change the bias to center. And the other one was around 0.6, I think. Let's have this go, I don't actually remember where it was. Well, we can just see right there. Yeah, this is definitely going slower than that one, which I like. You should be listening with headphones or good speakers to capture the stereo field here that's happening, but I like that for that part. Okay, we'll leave that where it is. Let's jump to our third. Now I love the warbly texture of this, but I don't love the attack. Because we have 2 other layers with really fairly strong attacks. Well, that one doesn't have such a strong attack, but they work together, and I don't think we need this attack. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab an envelope, and I'm gonna have this one be a slow fade in. Oh, that's part 1, excuse me. Part 3. Always got to be careful to make sure you're on the right part. Let's do a just a little over 1 second fade in, and we'll toggle these guys off so we can hear what this sounds like. That's doing it for me, and of course a generous amount of release as well. Yeah, that's nice. And for this one, I'm going to add a third LFO to the micro pitch here, just creating even more oscillation. Now you have to be careful here because there's already a fair amount of modulation happening within the sound. We don't want to make it this wide because that's just going to give us seasick vibes, which might be right for some things, but not soft and sentimental. So let's really, really tone that down just a hair. And I'm going to make this the slowest LFO yet. And I'm going to use my amount tool as kind of like my fine tune here. Yeah. And here's the cool thing. I'm going to grab that same LFO and assign it to pan, but I'm going to make the pan pretty wide. maybe 70%. Yeah, again, our amount is low, so we can actually make it 100%. I like that a lot. And then, now that I think about it, a slight slower attack on part 2. And I'm happy with those volumes where they are. Let's check out adding the attack of part 1. And all of a sudden, because we're dealing with these kind of lush, stringy sounds, that part 1, I said I'd do it, is a little too harsh. So let's bring that tone down. That's beautiful. I'm going to give a little bit of release to part 1. Am I happy with where that's at? Maybe 50%. I love how that plays into that. And then bring part 3 in. Gorgeous. And actually, I want part 3 to swell in and then come down to a certain level. So I'm going to bring this decay up and bring my sustain down. So that it's still there, but it's just more of a swell. Let's hear where we're at. I like it a lot. I need this to have a stronger bass. I need it to have a stronger bass presence. And so what I think I'm going to do here is my 4th part, which I've reserved here just as kind of my finishing touch. It could be something high-end sparkly. It could be something noisy. It could be something to kind of bring more foundation. I'm going to add a bass-specific layer, and I'm going to make my key range so that it's not across the whole key bed, kind of so that it preserves the high-end stringy thing that we have going. Let's pick a bass. I need like a nice strong moral bass. Let's see, what does that give us? No. Okay, it was wrong. But I do have a notion that perhaps I think, do I want that much attack? That's kind of more what I was looking for. And also I'm gonna just bring it down. You know what? We have so many phased elements happening here. I would rather pick something more solid. Deter was solid, right? We liked that. Oh yeah. Clean, Prophet-esque, kind of brassy bass. Okay, so let's limit that to say C1 to A3? C3? C4? I just kind of pick a spot, and if I go to play something and it's not there, then I move it up. So let's try C4. Where does that get us? It's actually a little high. So maybe G3. I'm just picking about where I want it to end. I want this to remain a bass frequency, so let's actually do E3. So now we have this kind of foundation down low, and I just want to make sure that this doesn't muck up anything else going on when we have all these other parts in, because these other parts will trigger in that register as well. So it should be foundational. Let's check it out with part 3. You know, interestingly enough, I am wondering if dropping this an octave would be the move. And I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a little fluff on the attack and release. Oh yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's make sure that it doesn't mess around with part 2. That works for me. And of course, I'm listening for just like general muddy frequencies that result. And a lot of that stuff you can kind of pull out with EQing, which would be a maybe next step. But for now, this is working for me. And let's just check it out with part 1. Yeah, pretty non-invasive. So if we have everything going at once, that's beautiful. From a panning perspective, I'm going to leave that bass right in the center. I tend to leave my basses, my leads, my sparkle stuff, like I tend to leave that in the center. And this stuff, I think we have panning LFOs going on all of them. Not this one. We could definitely add a panning LFO to the, well, that's the attack. And I just said, I think I'll leave my attack in the center and my bass in the center. So I am very happy with all these parts and where they are. It's an evolving pad. It's definitely emotional. Now I think we should just get into some effects. I'm gonna start with an EQ just because I don't know if there's any spots where I would maybe pull frequencies out. Let me check one more time. And a good way to check this, by the way, is just to kind of hit a cluster somewhere in the middle of the key bed. Hearing a little bit of build up maybe around the 256 range when you throw in that bass note. That's a little cleaner, don't you think? I think that's gonna preserve things that we like about the sound. And typically with this kind of a sound, I'm not really afraid to give like a upper mids boost because that stringy thing is so upper mid focused, you know? There's a small window between harsh and sweet, and you just kind of have to find it. This Q tool actually shrinks your band. So right now, it's a little counterintuitive, but the lower the number, the wider the band, the higher the number, the finer the band. So I'm gonna do a pretty fine band. Yeah, I might want to give a boost right around there, like 6K mark. Actually, 8K. That's a little too harsh. And I have to say, this part is still a little too loud for me. Cool, that's nice. And then just a sanity check to just kind of hold a chord and toggle the EQ on and off. And you know, actually, I'm going to give just a small bass boost around the 128 mark. That's just a good little tool to use. Yes, that's bringing out the sounds that I want it to. So I'm going to leave that right there. And then in terms of where we can go next, I mean, the world is kind of your oyster. I mean, I think this is a lovely set of sounds as they are, and I think that a less is more approach might be the goal here. I'm gonna actually grab the stereo width tool and just widen my image as a whole, just to give a little, just to exaggerate the motion. And then of course we could do something fun like add a 5th LFO to give slight oscillation, not a whole lot, but slight oscillation to just the stereo image as a whole. This is a good little trick that I use a lot to just create, again, more motion, the better. And I don't care if it happens over a beat or a bar or 5 bars, but just a little tiny bit of, I skipped LFO4, I guess. So yeah, okay, we have LFO 1, 2, 3, and 5 now going, and this is just going to give a gentle rock back and forth. Now, I think, I could see an argument for chorus. Let's try chorus. Let's try maybe one of these Juno presets here. Hear what that sounds like. And I'm actually going to put it before the stereo image. I like to have the stereo image be kind of the last thing before a reverb, but after any effects processing. Just my own personal preference. Sorry, nope, it sounds better without it. I think that's a testament to just really how good these core parts are. I don't have any desire to put any effects on it. I think it just needs a reverb and we're gonna be done. Honestly, I really do. I think a nice big shimmer reverb, bring the pitch mix nice and low because, again, we don't really need it. Maybe the mix somewhere around 25%. I will add some good modulation to the trail of it because I think that's just going to help our overall timbre. And then, of course, you could add, say, a filter to filter down some of these sounds. But I don't know if it needs it. Let's play something. Let's try it. The end. I got nothing left. I mean, you could honestly throw a low pass filter in the mix and maybe add some LFO motion to that, or assign it to the mod wheel if you're doing a longer cue and you want to be able to have more fine-tuned control over the brightness and the darkness of it. But so let's just recap. I chose 3 sounds based solely on their titles. They kind of all work together. I shaped them with the envelopes to kind of just have it kind of lead naturally. I added a fair amount of LFO modulation to just get some organic motion happening. I added a bass layer because I felt like that was an area where I could use a little more support. So I added this fourth part here, and then gave even more motion to the stereo image, and then just threw a little bit of shimmer reverb with a touch of pitch mix, and boy, beautiful. Beautiful, stunning. Didn't do any chorus, no phaser, no bit crush, didn't even put a compressor on it, a very gentle EQ. This is a testament to these parts. This is just a beautiful, beautiful library, and I have so much fun going through this stuff, and it's kind of a must-have, I think, in my personal opinion. This is probably my favorite general synth library, so non-instrument specific one. There's just such a wide variety of sounds here, and it's just, as I said, it checks every box. I have a box, I have a checklist. I'd struggle to write it out for you, but I do have one in terms of the sounds that I go for, I enjoy, and I must have in my studio. And there's nothing missing. It's perfect. Thank you for taking a journey in emotions with me through these beautiful, beautiful synth parts. I do encourage you to pick this one up, as I will with all of these, because, you know, I'm a fanboy first, but, you know, no, in the real sense, though, this is such a useful tool to have at your disposal. I mean, it really, really makes Soundpaint shine. And thank you so much, and see you next time. This is Shimmy, signing out. Take care.